Welcome to Present Poetry, a reading podcast with your host, Erin Crittenden. All poems used in this podcast are either public domain or used with permission from the author or the estate. So sit back, relax, and get ready to hear some poetry from the past and the present. This week's featured poet is renowned French novelist and playwright Victor Hugo. Victor Hugo was born February 26, 1802, in Besançon, France. His father was a general in Napoleon's army and a loyal advocate to successive governments, while his mother was a royalist who lived in the city of Paris. Hugo spent his time between them, but eventually came to live with his mother and adopted her royalist views. From 1815 to 1818, he studied at Pension Cordier and the Lycée Louis le Grand, after which he graduated from the law faculty at Paris and pursued a career in politics. However, politics was not his only obsession. Hugo began his writing career around 1816 and, with the encouragement of his mother, founded a review, the Conservatoire Littéraire, that ran from 1819 to 1821. During his lifetime, Hugo had around 60 works published between 1819 and 1885, and most of them were political commentaries on the state of France, possibly the two most notable works being Les Miserables and The Hunchback of Notre Dame, which were social commentaries about the underside of Paris politics. Unfortunately, Victor Hugo died in 1885 in Paris, where his body lay in state under the Arc de Triomphe before being buried in the Pantheon. He since had 22 works published after his death and has been described as the most powerful mind of the Romantic movement. Victor Hugo led a fascinating and complex life, and this is only a brief glimpse into his literary genius. I will leave links in the show notes so you can go explore this author on your own, including links to the book that we will be reading from, which is a collection of poems that was released in 2005, nearly 120 years after the author's death. Our first poem is titled The Giant in Glee, a ballad written in 1825. Ho, warriors! I was reared in the land of the Gauls. O'er the Rhine my ancestors came bounding like balls. Of the snow at the pole, where a babe I was bathed, ere in bear and in walrus skin I was enswathed. Then my father was strong, whom the years lowly bow. A bison could wallow in the grooves of his brow. He is weak, very old, he can scarcely uptear a young pine tree for staff, since his legs ceased to bear. But here's to replace him, I can toy with his axe. As I sit on the hill, my feet swing in the flax, and my knee caps the boulders and troubles the trees. How they shiver, yea quake, if I happen to sneeze. I was still but a springald when, cleaving the Alps, I brushed snowy periwigs off granitic scalps, and my head o'er the pinnacle stopped the fleet clouds, where I captured the eagles and caged them by crowds. There were tempests, I blew them back into their source, and put out their lightning more than once in a course. Through the ocean I went wading after a whale, and stirred up the bottom as did never a gale. Fond of rambling, I hunted the shark along the beach, and no osprey in ether soared out of my reach. And the bear that I pinched twixt my finger and thumb, like the lynx and the wolf, perished harmless and dumb. But these pleasures of childhood have lost all their zest. It is warfare and carnage that now I love best. The sounds that I wish to awaken and hear are the cheers raised by courage, the shrieks due to fear. When the riot of flames, ruin, smoke, steel, and blood announces an army rolls along as a flood, which I follow to harry the clamorous ranks, sharp goading the laggards and pressing the flanks, till, a thresher mid ripest of corn, up I stand, with an oak for a flail in my unflagging hand. Rise the groans, rise the screams, on my feet fall vain tears, as the roar of my laughter redoubles their fears. I am naked, at armor of steel I should joke. True, I'm helmed, a brass pot you could draw with 10 yoke. I look for no ladder to invade the king's hall. I stride o'er the ramparts and down the walls fall, till choked are the ditches with stones dead and quick, while the flagstaff I used midst my teeth as a pick. Oh, when cometh my turn to succumb like my prey, may brave men my body snatch away from the ray. Of the crows may they heap on the rocks till they loom like a mountain befitting a colossus's tomb. Our next poem is titled Pirate Song, written 1828. We are bearing 50 Christian dogs to serve the cruel drivers. Some are fair beauties gently born, and some rough coral divers. We hardy skimmers of the sea are lucky in each sally, and 80 strong we send along the dreaded pirate galley. A nunnery was spied ashore, we lowered away the cutter, and landing seized the youngest nun ere she a cry could utter. Beside the creek, deaf to our oars, she slumbered in green alley, as 80 strong we sent along the dreaded pirate galley. Be silent, darling, you must come, the wind is offshore blowing. You only change your prison dull for one that's splendid, glowing. His Highness dotes on milky cheeks, so do not make us dally, we 80 strong who send along the dreaded pirate galley. She sought to flee back to her cell, and called us each a devil. We dare do aught becomes Old Scratch, but like a treatment civil. So spite of buffet, prayers, and calls, too late her friends to rally, we 80 strong bore her along unto the pirate galley. The fairer for her tears profuse, as dews refresh the flower, she is well worth 3 purses full, and will adorn the bower. For vain her vow to pine and die, thus torn from her dear valley, she reigns, and we still row along the dreaded pirate galley. Our third poem is titled The Gins, written 1828. Town, tower, shore, deep, where lower, cliffs steep, waves gray, where play, winds gay, all sleep. Hark, a sound, far and slight, breathes around on the night, high and higher, nigh and nigher, like a fire roaring bright. Now on 'tis sweeping with rattling beat, like dwarf imp leaping in gallop fleet. He flies, he prances, in frolic fancies, on wave crest dances with pattering feet. Hark the rising swell with each new burst, like the tolling bell of a covenant cursed, like the billowy roar of a storm-lashed shore, now hushed but once more, maddening to its worst. O God, the deadly sound of the gin's fearful cry, quick 'neath the spiral round of the deep staircase fly. See our lamplight fade, and of the balustrade mounts the circling shade up to the ceiling high. 'Tis the gin's wild streaming swarm, whistling in their tempest flight, snap the tall yews 'neath the storm, like a pine flame crackling bright. Swift though heavy, lo, their crowd, through the heavens rushing loud, like a livid thundercloud, with its bolt of fiery might. Ho, they are on us, close without, shut tight the shelter where we lie. With hideous din the monster rout, dragon and vampire, fill the sky. The loosened rafter overhead trembles and bends like quivering reed, shakes the old door with shuddering dread, as from its rusty hinge 'twould fly. Wild cries of hell, voices that howl and shriek, the horrid troop before the tempest tossed, O heaven, descends my lowly roof to seek, bends the strong wall beneath the furious host. Totters the house as though, like dry leaf shorn from autumn's bough, and on the mad blast borne, up from its deep foundations it were torn, to join the stormy whirl. All is lost. O prophet, if thy hand but now save from these hellish things, a pilgrim at thy shrine I'll bow, laden with pious offerings. Bid their hot breath its fiery rain stream on the faithful's door in vain. Vainly upon my blackened pane grate the fierce claws of their dark wings. They have passed, and their wild legion ceased to thunder at my door. Fleeing through night's rayless region, hither they return no more. Clanking chains and sound of woe fill the forests as they go, and the tall oaks cower low, bent their flaming light before. On, the storm of wings bears far the fiery fear, till scarce the breeze now brings dim murmurings to the ear, like locusts humming hail, or thrash of tiny flail, plied by the fitful gale on some old roof-tree sere. Fainter now are borne feeble mutterings still, as when Arab horn swells its magic peal. Shoreward o'er the deep fairy voices sweep, and the infant sleep golden visions fill. Each deadly jinn, dark child of fright, of death and sin, speeds in wild flight. Hark the dull moan, like the deep tone of ocean's groan, afar by night. More and more fades it slow, as on shore ripples flow, as the plaint, far and faint, of a saint murmured low. Hark, hissed, around I list the bounds of space, all trace, efface of sound. Our next poem is called Serenade. When the voice of thy lute at the eve charmeth the ear, in the hour of enchantment believe what I murmur near, that the tune can the age of gold with its magic restore. Play on, my fair one, play on for evermore. When thy laugh like the song of the dawn riseth so gay, that the shadows of night are withdrawn and melt away, I remember my years of care and misgivings no more. Laugh on, my fair one, laugh on for evermore. When thy sleep, like the moonlight above, lulling the sea, doth entwine thee in visions of love, perchance of me, I can watch so in dream that enthralled me never before. Sleep on, my fair one, sleep on for evermore. Our last poem is titled, Oh, Why Not Be Happy? Oh, why not be happy this bright summer day, mid perfume of roses and newly mown hay? Great nature is smiling, the birds in the air sing love lays together, and all is most fair. Then why not be happy this bright summer day, mid perfume of roses and newly mown hay? The streamlets they wander through meadows so fleet, their music enticing fond lovers to meet. The violets are blooming and nestling their heads in richest profusion on moss-coated beds. Then why not be happy this bright summer day, when nature is fairest and all is so gay? Thank you for listening to this episode of Present Poetry. If you enjoyed it, please leave us a review, share us on social media, or subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you would like to learn more about the featured poet, or you would like your work featured on the podcast, please check out the links in the show notes. Thank you again for listening, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.